Right, I guess we can jump straight. Well, you've got a little cutscene coming up first.
Okay, cool.
Which tells you about the world long ago, whereas I've already jumped straight into the game because I'm impatient. I'm going to attempt to start playing now, and I apparently need to wake this guy up. There we go. I love how I'm saying this like I've never played this game before.
I know.
It's like, oh yeah, there's this guy. So this is your first time playing Wildmender.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
So, Jen, in terms of sort of, I suppose we should probably introduce ourselves and who we are in the company. What is your relationship to Kwalee and your relationship to Wildmender? That sounds super official.
So I work in talent acquisition team. Been here just over a year. Really, in terms of Wildmender, I'm really super excited to actually play it. We've been talking about it for such a long time, and it looks fantastic. So yeah, I'm just really excited to actually have a go at it.
It is a lot of fun. So when was the last time you actually met? Because you played it one time before, haven't you? How long ago was that, do you think?
Probably a couple of weeks ago, actually got to have a go at it.
Bit of a hands-on experience. Is it like any of the other games that you normally play? Like, what would you normally play in your spare time?
To be honest, one of the reasons why I've been so excited about it is that it feels as though it's like the love child of Animal Crossing and Journey. I just think like the graphics and the music are fantastic. You know, I love the whole kind of, you know, doing a little bit of gardening here and there and that kind of thing.
The vibe. No, it is good. Yeah, I can definitely see the Journey thing as well in terms of the art style, maybe not so much in the content.
Yeah.
I suppose I should introduce myself as well. Hello everyone. I'm sure you've seen me in so many of these videos before. I am the Senior Community and Social Media Manager at Kwalee. So I do all the tweets, Discords, all that good stuff. I essentially just get to do all the stupid stuff around the game. So I suppose the big difference is you were sort of coming into this, getting to see the game in its sort of final state, whereas I've sort of seen it from when we first signed it, when I started back, gosh, about 2 years ago now, to now, that it's nearly ready to go, which feels like letting go of like a child. Wonderful, but
sending it out into
sad.
the world.
Yeah, we are. We're sending Wildmender out into the wild. Everyone buy Wildmender if you're watching this now.
So this is really my first job in games. So I worked in education for quite a while. I also I did a little bit of a stint in retail as well. I mean, retail, especially the place that I worked for, was 95% women. So moving across to games, it's a very different environment where it's very dominated by men, really. But it's been really, really welcoming. I've really, really enjoyed it. One of the things I wanted to do was to get involved in women in games purely because of that, especially working in talent acquisition as well, you know, looking for talent. It's just really great to sort of encourage other people to basically join us, really.
Yeah, I suppose it's different for me because, again, I've come from a slightly different background. So originally I worked in travel and then I moved over to the game industry. I guess travel is neither female nor male dominated, I suppose. It's sort of like kind of a good mix, whereas yeah, I would definitely say that there are a few more men in our department than women, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. But it's kind of true of the whole, I guess, gaming experience. I don't know what it was like for you, Jen, like growing up as someone who played games. Did you have like many of your friends to talk to about it? For me, I had like a big female friendship group. Not many people game, so the games I played growing up, I didn't sort of get involved in like the popular games because I didn't know what they were, and the internet didn't exist back then. So I think that's what's so interesting for me is like watching now kids have access to the internet and they can see sort of playthroughs and stuff about like games of the year and what's coming out and AAA and indie and all this kind of stuff that I just didn't see when you were back in my day. But yeah, I don't know whether that's the same for you, how you sort of feel now about the kind of information and access to information we have compared to back when we were younger and you were sort of waiting for those magazines and kind of trying to figure things out for yourself and renting games from Choices.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Or like Blockbuster. If kids watching this, you probably don't even know what Blockbuster is, but you could rent video games, physical games from a store and borrow them for a set period of time.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been gaming for a very, very long time. I'd hate to even like sort of talk about the very first console I had because, you know, again, probably a lot of people probably.
What was it?
My very first console that I ever had was a Master System, so it was like a long, long time ago. Me and my brother used to play games quite a lot. We used to play all sorts of stuff. Basically, you know, it gives you the opportunity, particularly like fighting games all the time, rather than punching each other in the face.
Oh yeah.
It means that we can
yes, make them play the fighting games.
Yeah. I think it's also just as you get older as well, I think there's a kind of element where a lot of my friends who probably would have played kind of quite casually sort of dropped off and just got involved in other things really. But yeah, I still ended up really love playing games in my spare spare time.
I think now I take for granted as well, like the amount of information I have now compared to the information I had when I was a kid. I was really bad at games as well. This is the thing, this is something like I wanted to go to my grave never telling people this, but when I was younger, I genuinely played Pokemon for the first time. I thought, because again, I had no friends who I could talk to about this, just for reference, so no one thinks I'm like a complete moron. I thought you could only have one Pokemon at a time.
Oh god.
So I finished the entire game with just Blastoise. And then it was only when I met my cousins and I went over to America and I sort of hung out with my cousins and they were like, yeah, you can have 6 Pokemon, like you can use all of them. Whereas I'd have them in my party, but I just wouldn't use them. I'd be like, oh no, they're just there like to take up the slots, and then it's Blastoise who's the only one that can fight. That's where I started. And I haven't really gotten much better since, as I'm sure this footage will show.
Quite sure how I'm meant to be creating my workbench, so I've...
You got to go into this menu, and then there we go.
Aha,
yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, and what would you say is like your top 5 games of all time?
Oh god.
You don't have to say Wildmender, although
Of
if you
all
do.
time?
Of all time. Top 5 games of all time.
Oh gosh. Sorry, I'm thinking about it. Having a little pause.
It's a difficult question. It's one that I weirdly, like, speaking of talent acquisition, that is the question I ask in interviews whenever I'm recruiting, I'm recruiting for a job. One of the first questions I ask is like, what is your favourite game? Because how people answer that is sort of quite telling of like the type of person you are.
Yeah. So I have a few. That's the main reason why I'm sort of hesitating, going, how can I possibly rank this? I would say those sort of walking simulator style games.
Oh yeah.
And I really liked them. I know it was a bit controversial at the time where people were like, is this really a game? Because you're not really doing that much and there's no combat and all the rest of it. Around that time, the sort of Life is Strange games came out.
Oh yeah.
And I absolutely loved them. Again, purely because they felt so different. You got like female protagonists that were really interesting.
Yeah.
It was released episodically, so I was playing and my friend was playing at the same time. So after every episode, we'd basically get together and go, oh my god, what choices did you choose?
Yeah, what
I'd be
did
like,
you do?
I managed to kind of kill a character by accident. And it was just, we just loved it because we both had different choices. Our games were completely different. And I loved that idea, the sort of releasing things episodically as well, just made it really interesting when you're all sort of having that anticipation of the next episode. So yeah, I really loved that, all of the games that they released as part of those. So I played the sort of prequels and some of the follow-up ones as well. Basically any of it within that world that I'd played. I also really love Night in the Woods.
I love Night in the Woods. Oh my god, I love Night in the Woods so much.
I've got a physical...
That's like super narrative focused as well.
Yeah.
Also about like women. Also about just being young as well. Like how hard it is like being a young person growing up in a small place.
Yeah.
Right, so the next thing you need to do is if you open up the crafting thing and then click X, that will then allow you to put down the workbench. So you can put it down, to be honest, like I always put mine near to the oasis because it just means it's easier to find. So I think your one is sort of, you want to turn it around again. Yeah, go towards that bendy tree.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you
is
should
that the
find
official name?
Yeah, bendy tree, life tree.
Okay.
And then just pop it there.
Did that work? Aha, okay.
You can just pop it down and then it does this like
sweet,
really nice animation.
I've roamed around for ages, just I was so busy talking.
And
it doesn't look like a very stable position either, really.
I know, it's okay, it'll be fine. It's a video game. Then you want to go to the workbench, and if you click, I forget. See, I don't normally use a controller for this. I use mouse and keyboard like a normal. Then RB, and then you can do one of the best parts of the game, which is go around just whacking plants.
Oh, amazing.
Although the whole point, so before we go into the whacking plants part, so the central theme behind Wildmender really is that you're not meant to, like, unlike other survival games, you're not meant to kind of cut down loads of the living plants. You're meant to try and go for like dead plants, and then you're raising plants and bringing stuff back to life, rather than going for the finite resources in the short term. You're kind of trying to create sort of long-term resources and more sustainable approach to survival. But yeah, we were talking about Night in the Woods, so Night in the Woods, amazing. Yeah. What else? It's Night in the Woods, Life is Strange.
Life is Strange I really enjoyed. Just for the nostalgia, I really love like old school side-scrolling fighting games. So
like
Streets of Rage, Scott Pilgrim, which is basically exactly the same game, but just with a different skin on it.
Though.
Any of those, they're like my kind of, it sounds like a really weird thing to say, a kind of comfort game in that I can just kind of sit down, you jump into it, you don't have to have too much thinking going on.
Yeah, and you can jump in with other people as well.
Yeah, they're always quite fun for sort of couch co-op.
just turn around and then
Oh,
go
yeah,
up to there. Yeah, like a nice couch co-op game, and
Yeah.
one that sort of brings back like what I liked about Scott Pilgrim was it brought back memories of playing Streets of Rage with my cousin. Oh, it's a great game. So you want to go to the little bright spots and click the left trigger, and that should dig up stuff, and then you can pick it up with the right button. You want to collect, I think it's 3 dune grass seeds. Go to one more bright spot, and that should theoretically give you all the seeds. Yeah, there we go. And that should end that part of the tutorial. And then your boy over there is going to talk a little bit. Then if you push that, you should be able to start planting. You go across to the seed, then click X to plant, and then these ones are designed so they kind of like hold the soil for you. So if you see those brown patches of soil where the soil looks like healthy, it kind of creates that brown patch. So you could plant it anywhere near the oasis or like around the tree. Yeah, it kind of holds it, and then I think you can press B to like pull out of that view. Then you have to get temporary food sources. Now this is one of my favorite animations. It's something that hasn't changed very much since the very beginning. So when we first sort of signed Wildmender, this was one of the first features that was in the game, was this particular plant, which I think you can see off in the distance. If you turn that way, and sort of go that way, and you'll need your water bottle in order to like bring it out, but they're called rain bloom cactuses. And I remember just seeing this, and it's like this really cute little animation where the like little cactus creates the little fruit. So some of the food in Wildmender will give you, will hydrate you as well. So the rain bloom cactus is really good for that. It's one of the few foods that will, without any kind of planting or effort, it hydrates you and gives you food as well. Whereas a lot of the other ones like seeds, they tend to dehydrate you. So you're kind of encouraged to plant them and grow stuff rather than just eat a bunch of seeds, which to me doesn't really sound terribly like pleasant anyway. Rain bloom cactuses you can grow near your oasis, in your oasis, but you do also find them throughout the world, so they're sort of a good temporary source of food. You can see another little one there. But yeah, it's that animation that I love. Like when we first sort of looked at the game and I saw that, I just thought it really kind of captures, I think, the style that they were going for. Of it's like cute, but it's also got this sort of deserty theme and very much focused on like working with the environment rather than working against it. So this is another thing. A lot of the resources you find near rocks, you can find sand rock or sandstone, and then near these types of rocks you can find metals, but they're a lot rarer. But yeah, I think one of the things that I liked from the very beginning when we played it, weirdly enough, when we first tested the game out,
Don't know quite what I was doing there.
I'm
just gonna climb a tree. Never mind, smash it. Sorry.
No, it's alright. When we first tested the game out, it had multiplayer already like enabled, which is incredible when you think of like a game that's first coming in. We're so impressed with that. As a team, we played it. We played 4-player multiplayer, and it was just we had so much fun, like laughing at stuff like that, like someone accidentally climbing up something instead of picking something up, or someone leaving something behind. Like one time, I think one of my friends, I say friends, work colleagues and friends, just threw all the food out of their bag. They went to try and eat something because they were dying, threw all the food out of their bag, and then just died. And there was one time as well where one of our friends just sort of, we were in the middle of a fight with a bunch of wraiths, and one of them just started running off, and we just saw him just running away in the distance because he'd found a chest, and he just left us, and we all died. And yeah, he got like all this food and all these items, and then went back to camp and wondered why we were all so annoyed with him. So I think that's one of the things I really loved from the beginning, was that kind of, it's a chilled out game in multiplayer, but there are still those really funny moments that you can have with people.